Hey guys, and welcome back to A&J Education YouTube channel. In today's video, we're here to talk about studying architecture at Cambridge University. So if you're thinking about architecture, or you are definitely applying for architecture and interested in Cambridge, keep watching. Okay guys, so we're very fortunate to have my colleague Maya here with us today. Hi Maya.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Good to see you again. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Maya, let's just get something straight. So, what makes you qualified to talk about architecture at Cambridge?
So I recently graduated from Cambridge. I studied at King's College and I studied architecture. So studying it from the last 3 years has been something I've really enjoyed. So to get into architecture at Cambridge, I first studied biology, chemistry and A-level art.
Biology, a bit of a random subject for architecture.
Yeah, so architecture is a subject which combines different disciplines. So you have a more creative subject like art, graphic design, fine art, and then you also combine it with a more scientific subject. Some students prefer to do an essay-based subject like history or English. So architecture is really about combining lots of different disciplines, which is why I particularly enjoyed it.
Okay, and Maya, in terms of the Cambridge course specifically, is it more mathsy or more sort of artsy? Like,
I would say the art side definitely takes a big role in studying architecture, but I would say instead of being more physicsy, I think the course definitely focuses a lot more on history and theory. We do a lot on sort of looking at famous theorists in architecture, and we do lots of essay writing as well, and our dissertation is a big part of our degree. Compared to courses at other universities around the country, I know some have more focus on maths and physics, but for me personally, I was looking for a course which was quite grounded in the history of the subject.
Okay, well, it sounds like you've done your research. Cool. When I was applying to uni, I just kind of looked at the rankings and thought, okay, these are good, so acceptable to my Indian dad, and so kind of, But anyways, all right. So how do you actually submit an application, for architecture? Is it just the personal statement with the other subjects?
So architecture is slightly different from some other courses because we submit a personal statement, but also your portfolio forms a really big part of your application. So your portfolio is made up of all of the design work you've done. So it might be some modelling you've done, some drawing, some sketching, some photography. So it's really looking at how you interact with the built environment around you, and it looks for you to sort of represent your skills and show this visually. So that's why I think if you're looking to do architecture, having a background in art or design is really beneficial to you. In addition to your personal statement and your portfolio, as we just mentioned, for Cambridge specifically, you do have 2 other admissions tests.
2 tests?
2 tests. So you don't need to really sort of prepare for them before you go in. Some Cambridge courses, you have an assessment you submit before your interview day. But for architecture, you sort of turn up on the day and then you're asked to write an essay, and that will be around 30 minutes.
Okay.
And this is just for you to sort of engage with different ideas, explore different ideas in your writing, so you can discuss with your interviewer. And you'll also have a drawing assessment, which is, I think it's quite different. It's my first time ever doing one when I went to Cambridge. But it's really just asking you to sort of practice your skills in observational drawing. And
is that under time pressure as well, 30 minutes?
30 minutes. But I think it's important to remember in these 2 tests that it's just about an interviewer looking to sort of see what you're interested in. So often the interviewer can sort of reference these 2 pieces of material in your following interviews. So for myself, I had 2 interviews when I was at Cambridge, in addition to the 2 tests.
Okay, all right. And just to jump back to the personal statement, so architecture is not a subject that you study at school. There is no A-level architecture. So how can you fill up your personal statement with juicy stuff?
That's a really good question, because architecture is quite a vocational subject, and going into it, I've never really sort of studied it officially before. But I think it's really important to look at the world around you and sort of be able to be critical of what you see. So for example, I did lots of observational drawings while I was doing my Art A-level, and this helped me to sort of understand what I thought was important about cities and city planning. And just having those day-to-day observations is really important. I think what you can also do is sort of look up lectures online on architecture. That's something I did. They're completely free, easy to access, and you can really sort of start to engage in sort of the conversations around architecture. Some people often find maybe a summer school they're particularly interested in, or maybe do work experience at an architecture firm, which is what I did, which was quite beneficial to sort of really understand what architects do on a day-to-day basis.
Interesting. Okay. And by the way, guys, if you haven't already, do check out the newsletter on university admissions that I send out every 3 weeks. The link is below. It's packed with really juicy stuff that you won't find elsewhere, like seminars, workshops, conferences from leading universities, all low-hanging fruit for you to pick up. Do for free, and it can go in your CV and your personal statement, and will also be something that can impress your referees. So, do check it out. All right, Maya. So let's say you've done really good personal statement, you followed your advice, you kind of beefed it up. How do you prepare for this visual analysis task? How? Of course, as you said, Cambridge tell you do not prepare, you don't need to do anything, but we all know that's a lie, right? Like we all know there is a way that you can kind of improve your odds. So how would you do this?
I would just recommend doing as much drawing as possible. So this really is to build your observational drawing skills, and this is something which will come through in your visual assessment task. And remember, this is something that you're meant to enjoy, so don't sort of stress about it too much. I personally, I love drawing, I love sketching, so for me it was just a natural extension of what I did in my day-to-day life. Cool.
All right, sounds good. And how does Cambridge compare to other courses? You must have friends at other universities. What are any pros and cons that you can tell us about?
What I personally liked about Cambridge, the architecture course at Cambridge, is that we're quite a small department. So other courses at different universities, they can be a lot bigger, and you can often feel slightly lost in those. But I think I had a much better rapport with my tutors and professors, and I got a lot more sort of tutorial times out of it because I chose to study at Cambridge. Once again, the supervision structure at Cambridge, as I'm sure you've probably heard about before, it's really good because it allows you to sort of bring material from your sort of studio teaching or your lecture material, and you can bring it to your supervisor and sort of discuss any reading you've done around it, any more drawings you've done, and it really helps you to sort of delve deeper into the concepts you're learning. So I think Cambridge really pushes you in that aspect. I've had some really interesting philosophical discussions about architecture because I know it's quite simply because of the Cambridge supervision structure. It's pushed me in a way, and it's made me more confident in sort of engaging in debates about architecture, which is something I really enjoyed.
Wow. Well, if any of your professors at Cambridge are watching this, you're definitely not letting the team down. But Cambridge, when I last visited the architecture department, the building looks a bit crap. If I'm honest, compared to some other unis, like you go to Manchester or others that really invested. The facilities look better. Cambridge is a bit dated. Would you say, I don't know, is this fair? Would you say, that's true? Does it affect you as a student or your student experience?
So I think when you're looking to select a course at university, I think it's really important to focus quite specifically on the teaching and the subject material that you're going to be engaging with. I think Cambridge performs very highly on the teaching side of things in terms of staff to student ratios, sort of student welfare, subjects like that. And I think obviously the building might not be sort of the biggest, but I think it is in the process of moving sort of and upgrading. I think the department is sort of scaling up. So I think it's important to remember that the building you see when you sort of apply, it might be changing in a few years, because I think they're looking to have a digital fabrication workshop. So that was in the early stages when I was studying there. So I think it's really important. Don't get sort of sucked in by sort of the more material things. Just focus primarily on the teaching and it will serve you well.
And it would have been cool. Maya, just, this has been really useful. What would be your, just wrapping this up, your final top 3 tips to aspiring architects who want to apply to Cambridge? What would you tell them?
I would say use your portfolio as your main tool to convey your ideas. You want to be as enthusiastic and engaging as possible. And remember to show a real variation in your work. Another thing I would recommend is to keep a daily sketchbook. So any drawings or observations you do will really help your architecture analysis skills and your technical skills. And I would also say keep up to date what's happening in the architecture world. So I would say there are some really good lectures online. So just have a look at those, and so you can engage in debates surrounding the subject.
Cool. Guys, I'm sure you all, would support me in thanking Maya, for Maya's time. Really great tips. And, if you were unsure about applying to architecture, I'm sure you've got some really practical, good advice. So Maya, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers.